Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the trip. It's the Monday, right in the middle of the interlull international break. But soon, this time next week, we've already played a game, so looking forward to that. And I got my man Spencer with me. How you doing, Spencer?
Not too bad. Happy Monday, everybody.
Yep, yep. Well, our thoughts were with you over the last couple of days. You've been going through a little bit of stuff at the house, but
Yeah, I appreciate the
yeah,
kind words everybody said. Things are somewhat back to normal for the most part, but it was definitely sudden and unexpected. And he was super young, so that's what made it kind of rough. I mean, even losing the pet's never easy, but when they're super young and you think you're going to have them for 10, 15 years, you're just like, yeah. So, but I appreciate all the kind words and everything. I appreciate it.
cool, cool. And below, sitting on the bottom rung today is Tony. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
Not sure if I appreciate bottom rung when on Friday I'll be having a colonoscopy and endoscopy, so both ends will be getting examined.
Okay. All right. Yeah, something's up still with the audio, but we'll power through. Joining us, Houston, we got a problem yet? BX Gunno first. Thanks for joining us. No, I was just running late. I had to do some things in the house, so that was all on me. But we're here now. Hello, hello, welcome everybody. Join us. Whoever joins us, we'll get into that as well. All right. Whew, where do we start? It's been a while since we've all been on this show together. I think in a while, but it is the interlull, and I guess we'll just talk about the news of the day. Once again, another international break. Once again, another Arsenal injury. Uh, this time, Trossard went off at halftime. Hopefully, it's precautionary and not injury, but we lose another one in the international break now. Um, Spencer, what do you think about that?
Well, you've always known my opinion about international breaks. I'm not against them, but I feel like it's really weird to have one as much as we've had. You know, you get in a rhythm of games, and all of a sudden, boom, we go to an international break. Um, I mean, thinking about it, anybody can get hurt at any time, but we have talked about this, and it's been a running discussion. I think mostly with most of us are in agreement that there is too much football being played right now. And go hindsights go back 10, 15, 20 years, you thought you'd never say that, but there comes a point where it's like, even from entertainment value, like it's like, do I really want to watch England play Ireland? I mean, no, but I mean, if you're an England fan, yes, but at the same time, it's like there's never really truly a break to let the players just kind of reset. And Champions League's got the new format, so that's more games. The league format, there's more pressure. Like, I mean, think about it, back in the group stages days, right? You get your 9 to 12 points, you punch through, and you can kind of rest players. In the group stages, you're still kind of, you want to be in that top 8. But yeah, it's just it's people are making money, and only the fans seem to care, and only when the clubs are impacted. So I'm not a fan of it, but we've talked about this in the past, and it's just, what are we going to do?
Cool. Tony, what your thoughts on it?
Uh, my feelings of it. I hate it. What are we at? 11 games now, Gary? Or are we at 12?
Oh, well, we've finished 11th. We're going into our 12th match week.
So 11 games and 6 weeks of international football. So over half the season has been international breaks. So and for me, you look at those stadiums, and almost all the time they're pretty much empty, except like during the summer ones when the France or whoever will play in the U.S. Then you'll see fuller stadiums. But for the most part, you don't see too many fans at these friendlies or the qualifying stages of these tournaments.
Yeah, I always thought it was done. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no, I remember people talking about this. Just take a month off essentially and let them play all the games, and let them come back, right? So, um, yeah, no, that sounds like a better idea than what we're doing now with the breakups. I mean, as you said, 11 weeks. I think it's been three sets of international breaks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's crazy. Um,
It's
I
weird place too, Gary. That's the other problem. It's like it kills any momentum. Like you have a 4-month break, right? I think the next one is in March, right? It's like you would make sense to like not do Octobers or Septembers and maybe do one in January. You know what I mean? Like just they need to be placed in different locations if you're going to do the amount of breaks. But it kills the momentum of the season. So
no, for sure, and
Yeah, I don't.
nobody looks.
To me, it's pointless because you got the first one's the first week of September, then it's like the second week of October, then it's like the first and second week of November. It just, like Spencer said, it kills any momentum. You got these guys that have came in, and it really doesn't matter what team they came in from. You're trying to give a personnel adjusted and stuff. You get a rhythm going, then boom, international break. Then boom, somebody hurts themselves on international break. It just,
it's like preseason football.
I'm really,
Who cares?
I should have paid attention, Gary. If if Wingers had that conference they were to have and talk about players playing too much. So I'm curious how that's progressing because I'm surprised none of these, because I know most of the leagues have unions, but there should be ones that are just raising hell over having to play so much, or even if it's just some international team that starts raising hell because you're playing them and like for the MLS, you have this international break during when you're having your semifinals and finals. So there goes your good players. Just,
Yeah, and that doesn't make sense. Why would you let them go? You know, you're you're trying to win something. This whole thing's all about winning trophies. That doesn't even make any sense, right? Doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Alonzo joins us. Got Colonel Ward is in the house. Welcome to the show, Colonel Ward. Yeah, I don't know what's all this. If I don't even know what any. I don't. I don't know what he's saying there. Sure. I don't even know what that song is. But yeah, I guess so. But yeah, no, I don't think I think both sides, they used to be, I think, a little bit of a kind of understanding between the two sides, and now there probably isn't anymore because I don't like a player gets injured in the first. You know, he gets injured going into the international break. Gets injured in the first game of the international break, and then he gets put out on the third. You know, the third game in a row that he's after two injuries prior to that. That's Erdogan for me. And then he comes out with another injury, and we lose him for 6 weeks or whatever it is. Probably should have never went because when you come off of a game because of an injury, like just what just happened in the last game, right? Saka came off; he didn't travel. Rice was already dealing with something. He's in kind of a rehabilitation type process. They didn't make it. They didn't go on their. They didn't go, and I think they had legitimate reasons, but going into the international break with an injury and then sustaining one and coming with another one, I think is, you're not looking out for your players, right?
Yeah, because with Odegaard originally, he didn't think the injury was that bad, so they said he would be back at soon as the October break was over, he would come back. Then later on, they're like, "Oh, he'll come back after the November break," and that's what he should have did. I don't think Arteta should have played him. That way, it gives you a little bit more leverage to say, "Hey, he's not playing for us, so he's gonna go play for Belgium because he's injured."
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If he's too injured to play, in in his primary job, why would he do it on his secondary job? Just that don't make any sense to me. But yeah, no. But we go through another international break, another player out. Luckily, he's not a starter for us, but still, he's a key cog when he's clicking. We need a goal. We usually bring him on. Now we don't even have that option. We may not have that option. We'll see. When he does show up to camp or whatever, or back to the club.
It might finally be when Aries break. Maybe he finally gets some game time.
How?
I don't know.
If Erdegaard
Trossard starts some, so
no, Erdegaard just played the last game. And he played all 90 minutes, and he's had 2 weeks off. You think there's a chance he'll even get a chance to play in the next game? Arteta doesn't work that way. He's shown us his cards. I don't see any way in where he gets to play unless he plays alongside him, because Arteta, for some reason, doesn't have the confidence, trust in him to put him out there. Even with all of the best players, I mean, it'd be the best time to put him out there with some of the best players. We got all of our best players out there, right? So,
yep.
So,
I mean, you got Saka that's be in front of him and behind him. You have Odegaard, also really good at defense. Should be further up the pitch, push some offense, because that's part of why we're not having enough goals. We're having to rely a lot more on set pieces.
mm-hmm.
But I think it's definitely time for him to play. I mean, it's an excuse to try somebody new. So
Yeah, well, he hasn't, so I don't even trust. I don't think it's an option. I just think, and Spencer, this is kind of my thought on this one. I think Arteta is, when it comes down to whether you take a 2-0 lead or the game gets tied up, I think Arteta, in my eyes, feels like he can hold on to a 1-0 lead, and thus doesn't need to worry about the other team scoring. And we've shown all season that that's not true. We've been lucky in many a game that people have been, less clinical against us, and basically we've been able to win games easily. But in reality, our defense can't hold up when you continually put them under pressure, and that's why you need your bench. That's why you need these players. I don't know what you think about that, but I kind of feel like Arteta he's rolling the dice, and the team's showing him what they can do.
Well, there's another way to look at this too, and I just had this thought now that we were talking about international breaks. You could look at the season into thirds at this point, right? That's probably the best way to look at it. And of course, by thinking this now, everything has changed, because you've got the opening 4 or 5 games, then you've got the games after the international break and the games after those breaks, right? So we've seen almost, in theory, 3 different Arsenals in 3 different windows, if we're honest. I feel like the first window was the best one, and then we had the stretch where you had the Tottenham game, and of course Atalanta away, and then Man City was probably our best week of the year, just based on the results and what we needed. But yeah, a 1-0 lead is dangerous. I say a 2-0 lead is the most dangerous lead, but I think the biggest problem I've seen with this team is inability to put their chances away. But we've been talking about this now 4 or 5 years now, right? So there's nothing new there. I mean, I got to agree with Tony on this one. I would give Ethan Nori a shot at this point. We know Arteta's probably not going to do that based on the age and the youth, and more trusting of Moreno, Rice.
So you believe? So you believe in what I said too?
To an extent, yeah.
I said the same thing.
Well,
whatever you just said, that's what I said.
Getting to that segue, Gary, I was going to give you credit.
You gave me why is Tony getting all this hype and praise? I want mine.
Part of the segue of the segue, Gary. Look, I mean, there's ways what we would do and vice what Arteta would do, and I'm not losing faith in Arteta. Like I see some people are saying, like, I'm not happy with how things are going, but let's see what this next 4-month stretch is, because this is and obviously the no crap comment here is the next games are critical, but progressing in the Carabao Cup, we're going to try to progress in the FA Cup. Champions League's going well so far, in my opinion. The league form is not good. That's where things seem to be dipping. We need Martinelli to step up. He needs to start scoring goals. Saka's doing what he's supposed to do. Howard's doing what he's supposed to do. We're getting Odegaard back. Ben White's now going to be out. I'm sure that'll be brought up here in a few minutes. But, I also worry about style of play, right? Because we talked about this, and I think I can't remember which game the last we did together, but it felt like every scoring opportunity was, hey, let's try to walk the ball in the back of the net. It's vice, hey, let's take some shots. I think the Newcastle game is the one we're talking about specifically, where you're slinging crosses into a box where you've got Dan Burn and these 6'3" defenders, and you've got Trossard and Jesus in the box, 5'10". Yeah. That doesn't work. I mean, okay, so you need to figure something else out, and that's incumbent on the manager and incumbent on the players to figure out, hey, this isn't working. Who's going to be the field general that sees the game? And I think that's why we missed Odegaard. I really think we missed that because he sees the field. He sees the things. He leads the press. We saw that in Chelsea. It was good to have him back, although some people felt it wasn't a good performance for him. I noticed specifically having Odegaard back was a huge up to have. He's your captain. He's your leader, and he's not on the field. So, I don't know what's going to happen in these next games. We got Force Saturday. That's going to be massive because their league form is really good. The Champions League's coming up, I think, the following week as well. So someone's going to have to step up and put this team on their back, and it can't just be Bukayo Saka.
It's got to be
Tony, before you go, let me just say hi to some people that just joined us real quick here. So Rosie, thank you for joining us. Yep, make sure everybody is subbing and pressing the like button. Anders joins us as well. Anders, thanks for joining us. Everybody's joining us. And we'll get into your comment there, BX Gunner, about Forest. But go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, after the Champions League, then you get into December. Then you have a Boxing Day fixture. You're playing on New Year's or New Year's Eve. So you're playing every 48 hours or 72 hours. And things get a lot more congested. And we've seen that Arteta hasn't really rotated or rested the players. I mean, we've seen Jorginho twice this season, which makes no sense. I mean, he can do something. He can give Partey a rest or something can happen. And it's to be interesting that, like Spencer said, to be interesting with Ben White out. Does that mean Partey goes there? Does Timber go there? Because I think Timber's a lot better on the left side. It all depends. Martinelli.
It all depends where Calafiori is, right, in his recovery. I mean, I haven't heard much on it, but
There's one other guy we're forgetting that, I mean, if he's available, and again, there's a big if, because unfortunately the issues he's had is Tamiyasu. That's another option. But but we can't rely on him. You know, he's going to have to be a role player, right? He's going to have to be a guy that comes on the 60th minute and gives you 30 minutes a game. That's what he's going to have to be at this point until he figures out what's going on with the knee issue. Which is very unfortunate because he's a super talented player. You can play him in the center back position, play him in right back, play him in left back. We have players that are very versatile that can play these positions, but can they stay healthy? And that's really the big question.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen a player like Tamiyasu. It's like almost every muscle in his legs has failed him at least once. Calves, hamstrings, quads, glutes. I mean, I'm not sure which. He has some connective tissue disease or something.
That's a tough one because I wonder if, like, you know, based on this, like they always say, like if you blow your knee, that's your left knee now carries most of the load and potentially needs to go next. So if that's you know, this muscle's relying on this muscle and they're broken down, and then I almost feel like Thomas Partey, like take his, for example, his injury that he had. Like the serious question needs to be asked, like, okay, we've tried doing all these different remedies. Do you need to go under the knife? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is there a major structural damage that needs to be reconstructed, or what's up? And, you know, I also wonder, you know, because that Partey's one that we can't rely on. I mean, not Partey, but like Tomiyasu's his health. Kieran Tierney's still on the team. Obviously, he's probably frozen out, even though his health has been an issue. But like, it feels like the fullback position. I don't know if the style of play, I don't know if the modern game has changed this, but it feels like the modern game taxes the fullback's position more than anything else. And the body seat of most of these fullbacks. I mean, look at Reece James. He struggled with injuries drastically.
And I think what's changed is you see what Arteta does with him, and they're always attacking. So they're going back and forth a lot more instead of just hanging back there in the corners like they're supposed to. I mean, Timber's smart. He hardly ever passed the halfway line. He's usually stops about 8 yards before the halfway line and plays disciplined like you're supposed to in that position, because it's kind of like a mix of being a fullback and mix of being a wing back.
But that's because Ben White is the one that's going to progress up the pitch. I mean, it's not necessarily only just because he's more disciplined. You know, and I don't think anything that happens on this pitch isn't under the eagle eye of Arteta in terms of what they do and don't do on the pitch. So I kind of feel like that's just part of the plan, is how that works. And yeah, I mean, at some point you have to look at your team makeup and go, you know, is it me, or these players, are we just not, or is it the medical staff, you know, or are we just so unlucky that every time, like, what fullback on this team has not now been injured? Like Ben White was the most resilient over the last couple of years.
Kivgar was probably second on that list.
Yeah, I mean, but he doesn't start for us, so he's not even like he's not a starter for us in the sense that he's the most reliable. Because we didn't have anybody else. That was just because, like, Arteta is, I'll react when I have to, but he's not going to be proactively putting Kivgar in a rotation with fullbacks that he knows aren't available to him on a regular basis, right?
I would have still rather save that 45 million or whatever we spent on Calafiori and got a winger or a striker. We could have got something for that money. Because to me, I don't think he's any better at defense than Zinchenko is, because you see him going in the attack and you just never see him dropping back. And I don't think I've seen him do like a proper tackle yet.
I kind of, yeah, I guess so. I
I
kind
like
of feel like
Calafiore.
you you take there's pros and cons to the player what the player brings, and for me, if the way we want to play is to bring those fullbacks up, then I think I like him then in that sense. If that's what Arteta wants to do with his
He's
fullbacks,
young
right?
too.
And so
22
yeah,
young.
so and he's gonna learn some more things about defense. I mean, I think like I said, I like what he brings offensively, but I don't like the fact that that's what he, I would rather have him be the defensive guy working on his offense as opposed to, the offensive guy working on his defense. It's better than Zinchenko. Let's just say that
Yeah.
because
And
Zinchenko
I just see
doesn't even offer me enough offense for me to feel like, all right, I'll overlook the defensive lapses, right? Because in one game, Calafiori showed us why the offenses can be overlooked by one mistake, right? All right, like what fullback has done that for us in a game where you went, damn it, they just given up a goal.
But
Damn it, they just got us a goal.
but to me, it's still, if I don't care that he's had one good shot. The first two games that he played, we gave up four goals.
Not because of him. Not
But
because of him. Not because of him. I don't.
I
We didn't give up
I,
4 goals because of Calafiori,
I
right?
guarantee you half of them were because of him
I I I don't think
because
so.
his position on the pitch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Reach
Well,
Because
then
James.
you,
Yeah, yeah.
if the
because you
argument
wouldn't.
is he
Hey,
gives up
Brenny, welcome to the
goals,
show. Mhm.
the argument is he gives up goals, and that's something that happens regardless of the inversion and going from a back four to a back three, because then you get caught in transitions. But I got to look back at the first 2 games he played. I like Calafiore. I think he progresses the ball well. He's pretty decent positional wise for the most part. Um, I mean, obviously, if you look at this from a depth chart mentality, if all things are created equal, you're gonna have Timber starting at left back, Saliba, Gabriel, and then Ben White, and then Calafiore is a backup, and then Zinchenko somewhere there is like a break glass if needed, and then you got Tamiyasu, but you still got Kivior, so there's depth there. It's just Timber's missed time, Calafiore's missed time. Calafiore's is a freak thing that happened. He overextended his knee. Into the Calafiore ceiling is massive. He's 22 years old. This kid's only going to get better. Where Zinchenko is closer, I think, to 27, and now is starting to digress. Tamiyasu, I think, is, if the chat room knows the age, but he's in that middle point where he's probably not going to get much any better. Timber's going to get better. Saliba's going to get better. Gabriel's probably about where he's going to be, which is still really good. But the ceiling with Calafiore, and look, I'm not going to disagree with you on this, Tony. Like, it'd been nice to spend money on a winger to add some competition for Martinelli because Sterling is only so good. It was a good deal that you got him for, right? Let's not kid ourselves here. But at the end of the day, Calafiore's, you're trying to you win this league by playing defense, and they haven't done it very well this year. And that's the problem, that we've seen a drop off from last year's team to this year's team. So I like Calafiore. I like the potential he has. I do keep this in mind. This is a young team as well.
Yeah, that can't be. No. That almost sounds
I'm
like
not making a cop out. Hold on. You gotta let me finish the point before I say this. So when I look at Calafiore and you look about where this team's going to be 3 to 4 years from now, that's a guy, Calafiore and Timber, those are 2 guys that you're like, hey, those could be our bookends. Because eventually you're going to move on from Ben White one of these days. I'm talking 4 or 5
dude. Why are we talking? Dude, we're talking about. Why are we looking like 5 years in the future? We're trying to get through this season, my man.
5-year business plan, Gary.
Can we get through this season first before we even start thinking about what we're going to do 4 years after that? Dude, we can win a trophy now. Why are we worrying about what happens in 4 to 5 years from now?
I'm defending Calafiore at this point.
No,
That's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, he is what he is, but like I said, I'll take the good and the bad with him.
You and I are in agreement. we
I'll
like
take the good and the
Calafiore.
bad with him, but
Tony
what I feel is the problem, and that's why we're not as a threat anymore offensively and with our press up top. Both of those combined is why we look so leaky. You think about how we think about when Erdegaard, like Erdegaard did not look himself, right? He didn't look himself like to start this season off, and he's the one that had the most rest of anybody, right? Saka came in looking good. I mean, he had played. You know, Rice looked like he was struggling, but the one person I thought that would come in and be able to get us across the line with some of these English players coming back late after the finals there, it was Martin, and I didn't think we got that from him, and I kind of felt like we needed more opportunities to score. We weren't getting those. Everything had to be like you get 2 or 3 chances a game, and that's about it. That's all we're going to get, and we get lucky that the other teams in those first set of games didn't score. I mean, Aston Villa had at least 3 chances to score, and they didn't happen. So we kind of got lucky there. But we did. We got our chances across the line. But I kind of feel like the press is once that press is gone, you see what happens, and then that just weakens up everything behind it. You know what I mean?
Well, when you run 3 holding midfielders, Gary, and you try to run a press.
No. You're talking about after injuries. I'm talking about just to start the season. I'm talking to start the season. We're going by what we did last season. It didn't look anything like that. The press up top was not the same. You know?
Do you think that's also comes in the teams are playing you differently too? They've adjusted to what you do.
That's what I was going to say. It's all about tactics. Arteta's persisted with his tactics, and teams have figured it out.
Yeah.
And Arteta hasn't done anything to counter that yet. Yeah. And a lot of those early games, we just barely squeaked by. They were way closer than they should have been. I know most of them we were getting the 3 points, but they were narrow wins. But like you said, Aston Villa could have easily either got the 1 point or all 3 points. I mean, it's that thin in the margins. And last year, we weren't on that thin of margins. It's like you have Jesus, which he's worse. You're I don't know. The midfield's just a mess, especially without Odegaard in there. Mourinho, I don't see why we spend that money either. Both the players we spent money on, I'm not been impressed at all. I mean, we just don't have any teeth, and we're at that point where there's like no transition from the back quicker up to the front, which should be done. There's like no pace. Only Odegaard and Gabriel seeking out those long lofts or long through balls. They both have good vision. And Spitzer mentioned earlier that Odegaard was a general, but Gabriel is too. You watch the set pieces. He comes and talks to everybody. They set up. If they're set up weird, he'll go back and tell him what he's going to do. And pretty much every time his head's on the ball, but it's like, I don't remember what game it was. It was like the 4th or 5th game. It just seemed like the only plan we had was loft the ball to Gabriel and hope it goes off his head into the net.
I hear you. And this is why I'm not looking into the future, because I think right now these guys have gone through 2 seasons, and if they're not trying to get through this one, who cares what happens 4 years from now? Because right now you have an opportunity here. So everything should be geared towards that. And the last 2 seasons should have at least stimulated us coming in. All right, let's let's get something out of this season because tomorrow is not, it's not, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. All right. Right now we have an opportunity to do something with what we got here. Is it going to be a struggle to win the league? Yes, but is it impossible? No. You got to win one game at a time. You got to get the first one. We have to get a win. We haven't won in like 5, and it seems like in like what 3 games? Yeah, 3 games now. in the league and in the Champions League, we haven't won in 4 games. You know what I mean? EFL, I don't count that right now because of where we want to be. So this is a game. So you got to get a win. And I think you talked about like the playing and how the season's played out. I was listening to someone and they were talking about the one thing that Liverpool has done in these first 11 games is they just got wins. However they got them, they just got wins. You start to get into a rhythm later on once, like definitely this season after this first 11 games because of the international breaks. But once you get into that rhythm, then you kind of coast through, right? And then at the end of the season, what you're trying to do, you're just trying to get that win. You don't care how it happens, right? Because the first part of the season, you're trying to get into some form and whatnot. So you're just gonna battle. Yeah, and we have just been struggling. And like I think also Arteta isn't, like I said, willing to take the risk that, you know what, we're down 1, maybe we'll lose 2-0 because we press a little bit. We're up 1, maybe we open ourselves up a little bit, but more than likely we kind of step back and give the team a chance. So I kind of feel, you know what, you got
or Gary, it's halftime and you take the coat hanger and you get a player off the pitch that isn't performing good enough, or your attackers, if they haven't done much, take them off at 60 minutes. Give the young guys 30 minutes to try to score because they're going to bring the energy and they're going to try to score because guess what? They want a spot in the lineup.
So here's my question to you and Gary on this. Who are you expecting in this next stretch? Like who is the player that you want to see the most from? Like who is that?
It's probably Martinelli. Something has to happen on that left side if it's him or when Trossard comes back. To me, that kind of has to work. Mm-hmm. But I also want to kind of say what player I said earlier, Mourinho. I'm not sure if it's in him to get much better, but to me, you definitely got to look at midfield and see what's going on there because midfield does not look good enough, especially when we play three holding midfielders for whatever reason.
What about you, Gary?
Sorry, I got a little distracted there. So,
no, so basically my question is, which player in this next stretch you're looking to get the most bounce from? Like, pull their weight. Like, who are you looking at and saying, man, I need you to step up?
All right. So,
I know that's a tough one. And it can be a loaded multiple players.
Yeah, well, yeah, wow. No, that's a good question because my initial thought is Saka, but I don't know how if he's going to be available. You know what I mean? Like and the reason why here's what I feel. The reason why we miss Martin Erdegaard, all right, so much is because we don't have a player that I think can influence a game like him. I think that's Saka, but I don't think he can do it on the right wing. So he's not in a position to actually help the team out when they need it. Like who's gonna on the ball? He's one of the most secure players we got besides Erdegaard. All right. So for me, it should be Saka, but Arteta won't trust him to move him into the midfield when he doesn't want to trust anybody else there who can probably do the job. I think he can do the job better than anybody else he'll put in there. if he doesn't trust Nweri, and if he keeps leaning on Trossard, right? Sorry, my dog is whining. He's
No,
just,
I was thinking
but,
about what you just said there. That's the
yeah.
tactical thing that should have happened there.
yeah.
You've got two capable wingers in Jesus and Sterling, right? Whether you
Yeah.
want to talk about where they rank in the league, don't care. But they're players that are on decent wages that could do a job for you, that you could have moved Saka to that 10 position or the box-to-box position, utilize his pace in the middle of the field. I don't know if he could lead the press as good as Odegaard could, but
nobody can, or
I mean,
nobody can on this team. Let's just say that I've seen so far.
Can
that's
you
a good
just
shout there on that one.
No, yeah, I mean the only reason we talk about versatility, but then when we need it, we don't use it. Like I've always said, if Saka needs to play as a fullback, we just play him as a fullback because we're trying to win a game here.
Yeah,
trying to win a game and not put people in the positions that they're most comfortable in. I kind of like at some point in a game, we're going to need to get a win, not because our tactics are right, because maybe we have players that we can put in particular roles to get the job done. That's all we want to do. We're trying to get a win here. Like you tell me any minor changes that we did in a Newcastle game, we don't lose that, right? You know what I mean? That's a game right there we shouldn't lose. We have answers. We don't even utilize them. We don't change our tactics at all. We just play the same way. And that's on Arteta. But as far as players, it should be Saka if he's healthy. I think with the 2-week break, I expect Martin to come back in and give us even more than he did the last time. I mean, I think he tired out towards the end of that game in the Chelsea game. He was giving the ball away a lot late, but because he's so high up the pitch, it's not really an issue for us. That's what I saw. Maybe some say they didn't see that, but I did see him kind of was loose with some of the passes, was not able to control the ball as it came into him. I think it's just a guy who's tired, hadn't played football in a while, and that's where and where he coming in maybe puts a little bit more pressure on the defense. So I kind of feel like Arteta will push these guys to the edge, and he won't do that with his bench. With his bench, I didn't even just giving them minutes in general. Like and it's like, how can you bring Skelly in after a yellow from the sidelines, right? and not think I can bring Nweri in when I'm trying to go win a game. You're losing already.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just bring him in when you're trying to get a draw at the least out of this thing, right? So like the risk he's willing to take sometimes don't make any sense with, because in other situations where teams would, you see it all the time. In the Chelsea game, what do? They bring in their subs. It doesn't matter if they're better or not. There's fresh legs now, a little bit more energy on the pitch. And went on to score because we took a break, right? We lapsed for a little bit, right? You put some fresh legs in the midfield, maybe that cross never makes it there, to Neto, right?
I've been watching football pretty steadily now for 30 years, and I've never seen a player enter the game with a yellow card.
Yeah.
But I would actually play Mad Scientist and see what happens when Kai goes on the right and Saka goes as a number 10, an actual number 10.
Yeah.
Behind two strikers are behind them.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. For me, Jesus would be the name I would throw out there, but sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Tony. I interrupted. Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Saka at the 10. I mean, this could be the missed opportunity here. You had, if you really want to break it down, you had Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz, Jesus, and Sterling all available. Nweri still as well too. You know what I mean? Like, I know you probably want to protect Saka, and his natural position is right wing, but maybe
you're sacrificing a position that we have backup in for one that we don't have an answer for.
No, I agree.
So it doesn't. The risk is that you just you weaken your midfield and then you punish your back line because now they've got players who's running at them
Well,
Like,
when you also got to think about the natural like leading a press is not an easy task to do because you have to understand everybody's role where they need to be on the field, and also, I mean, that's why his intelligence, Martin Odegaard's intelligence, it's hard to find a replacement for that, right? It's a field general. Like, where they don't make field generals and just have like 15 on a team. Like, it's such a hard position and hard like role to just do in general. And when you put 3 holding midfielders out there who are really kind of about sitting back, right, hanging out at the 50, pushing, they don't know how to push play up as well as he, because they'll make that run and then leave space behind them, and all of a sudden now there's a space in the gap where they can counterattack. I mean, to answer the question earlier, like you're talking about players need to step up. I need Jesus to step up. I need Martinelli to step up. Those are the 2 players I'm looking at. Like we need at least 7 or 8 goals from those 2 guys. Like bare minimum through this 4 to 5 month period, going to the end of the season. I just need them to perform. I can't have Saka, Havertz, and I guess who else who was scoring a lot of goals for us. Those can't be the only 2 options we have.
yeah, but you know what? The reason why I bring up Saka, because we need somebody to lead us. Like, if we're going to talk about Erdogan leading us when he's on the pitch, he doesn't score much for us, but he does lead us, right? So for me,
he
Saka
can score.
No. But he doesn't. But he does lead us. We need somebody to lead us. That's what we miss more than anything right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if Saka's not going to do it with his voice and whatnot. But I think if you put him in a role where he's got responsibilities, which like I said, ball at his feet, it's not going anywhere but to another one of our players or towards the goal. That's what I believe I see from him every time. No matter how many people are running at him, right? He does that, right? Yes, he might have to learn a little bit more about people coming at you from different directions, but I have no doubt he'll pick that up. You know what I mean? So I feel you got to start with one player. So I'll start with Saka. Jesus needs to bring it. Sterling needs to get a chance, and where he needs to get a chance, I think Trossard cannot start. He needs to come off the bench and give us some serious minutes when he's available. I would rather, or he plays left wing. Take a choice. Pick one. Do whatever. But I don't think playing him in the mid at the 10, rotating with Havertz is helping either. So for me, I I don't know. Sometimes I think you have to lean on your big players. I mean, all the teams do, right? They needed a goal, ball goes to Salah. All right. You needed a goal, ball goes to ODB, right? Right? It goes to certain players when you need a goal, right? That's why Saka doesn't get pulled, right? He's always going to give us an opportunity. He's going to put a cross in there that if our players are awake and alive, they will catch up to it. But every time he's put a cross in, it's Moreno that's there, right? Marino. So that's not good. We need where's our striker at this time, So for me, I kind of feel like you have these players, but then you don't have the compliments to them sometimes, and because they're either sitting on the bench or they're playing out of position. So, yeah,
but that's the thing too. Like, Dak is going to perform, right? Like we would expect that. We need that other side of the pitch to perform. We need Jesus to come on and do a good job for us. We need Sterling to come on and step up. I need Moreno to figure out where he's going to fall in this team. I need Tommy Asu to stay healthy. I need Ben White, Calafiore. Like, I need Saliba to understand, it's okay to fight tomorrow. Let the guy through. Like, that's the stuff that they're split-second decisions, and they potentially could cost us. And look at Rice, that situation. Right? We all talked about that in Monday morning quarterback to death on that one, but sometimes it's okay to just let the ball roll away. We know they're going to be inconsistent. We know that. So don't give them any ammo, right? We tell our kids this all the time, like, hey, it's not always going to work out. The world's not going to work out in your favor. The best you can do is keep your head on your shoulders and make the right decisions. We tell our kids this all the time. But, going forward, and the schedule is brutal. Well, Tony mentioned the festive fixtures time is brutal, but the opponents in my opinion, are winnable games. So we haven't won in the league since October 5th. That was against Southampton. But you come back and you got Forest on Saturday. That's going to be a tough one. Lisbon in the Champions League. West Ham the following week. That's going to be a road game. It's a winnable game, though. You got United on December 4th. That's a home game. Fulham. You got Monaco in the Champions League. Got Everton. Then you play Palace in the EFL Cup. Then you play Palace again in the league. Ipswich is the 27th, a couple days after Christmas. New Year's against Brentford, and then you return fixture to Brighton. But then you figure out who your FA Cup opponent is. Those are winnable games.
We would call that game the game after Boxing Day, since Boxing Day's the 26th.
Because the 26th is on a Wednesday. The 25th is on a Wednesday this year, so the 27th is Friday. So I wonder if they're going to play games on Thursday. But needless to say, they're winnable games. You know, we just need people to show up and actually play.
I just worry about like depth to be able to, because there's not many alternatives there. Because like I said, you haven't seen Jorginho come in, and now Trossard's out. Who's going to be the next attacking in there? Is he finally let go with Waneri? Probably not.
Eventually, he's going to be forced to make that decision, right?
Yep.
You're going to have to give him the minutes. Now, that's where the League Cup and the FA Cup play into that role, right? You know, I don't know when we find out when our FA Cup matchup is. That's probably going to be between that January 4th and January 15th Spurs game, which will be a home game. But, I mean, you know, these are, to me, like, you know, there's no guarantees, and we've seen that. But, you know, the form hasn't been good. But, you know, let's see who comes back and who actually can suit up for Saturday. But I don't know how you feel about it, Tony. But, I mean, there is the feeling that there is a lack of, I don't want to say optimism, but the doom and gloom is there. But again, this is me, and you said this earlier. I think if Jesus can show up, Martinelli can show up, some of these players pull their weight. I think things can go right.
I was going to say this earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But to me, Jesus, if you look at him, he's just going through the motions. He doesn't show like that desire and heart to play for the badge, if you want to use that word. But he just seems like he's going through the motions out there. And he's like 26 years old. He's already hit his peak somehow when strikers usually hit it at 28, 29 years old. And it seems like he's one of those 30-year-old players. But by the way he plays, he just seems like he's packed up and he doesn't care about scoring anymore or creating chances from the wing. I mean, I don't know. I just think he's almost a waste of a roster spot. I would rather have Waneri out there than Jesus just going through emotions.
Yeah.
It sounds all good, but if Arteta doesn't play the player, then what's the point? You know, like and where he shouldn't. Based on where we are now, he should not been he should have been out on loan.
Yeah, but based on all our opinions, Gary, then they don't matter because Arteta's probably not going to do it unless he's absolutely forced to. So it's all kind of
so it doesn't make any sense. Why? Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Why would you bring him into the squad then if you don't see an entry point for him?
And again, the one loan move that made no sense to me this summer was Vieira. I mean, whether we rate him or not, that's not what I'm saying here. They raised the white flag on Vieira really quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of have to agree with Gary on this one. If you're not going to play and worry meaningful minutes, why didn't you send him on loan somewhere? And maybe hell, maybe January gets loaned out. I don't think so.
No, but you just wasted a whole, like we did this to Jesus when not Jesus with Saliba when we brought Saliba in and we didn't like he just sat around for half a season, right? I mean, what?
Yep.
Like what? You know, like excuse me? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, right? They say playing is the only way you can get better, but he's learning from Martin. He's learning from Odegaard. I'm just playing the devil's advocate on it. I agree with you that it's a waste, but I'm playing the advocate of like, hey, we're going to have him with the captain, learning how to play this game, how to learn how to lead the press. He could be learning directly from him. That's the devil's advocate right there.
Yeah, but
again, game time, you cannot replace game time.
Yeah, no. So I hear you, but I no. Either he's playing or he's not, because we're not a team at this point in where what we've done the last 2 years to then all of a sudden like we're bringing players in that are, you know what, you're not going to be ready for a year out from here, like that. That's not where we are right now. If we had a solid 1-2 on most of our spots, right, then yeah, but we don't, and we didn't have anybody behind Martin coming into this season that legitimately could do the job. So if Nweri was that guy, then you screwed up. You messed up, you know? Nah. So for me, nah. Like either he's playing or he's not. Like he's like I said, he's utilized these players in situations like I'm like, yeah, if you can do that, then he can play. You need a goal, you bring him in. All right? You need some fresh legs in that midfield, you bring him in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we are. Like, it's not working because the team's got an answer for everything that you can do with your starters. You bring somebody else in, right? All of these things. We're just saying like go back and do the same thing you did last. We got to say it every time. Go into halftime, come out, nothing's changed. Why? Like, did you like the first half? Because I didn't. Right? Did Arteta actually like the way the team performed in the first half when they probably should have gotten 2 or 3 goals and they got none?
And the bad thing is you see that the opponents have changed their tactics and put them more in the game, and we're less in the game because Arteta hasn't changed anything at all. I mean, you have to learn how to adapt during the game. I think he's never to get over that stubbornness, because that's one of the main things I remember on my Amazon documentary. He's like, this is a way we're going to play. We can switch players in and out, but this is what we're going to play. And I think that's the way he is. You see him screaming for players to do certain things on the pitch. I think that still takes creativity out of the players because you just hear him screaming, especially when you have all 3 Gabriels on there. He's going, Gabby, 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 and fucking 3 players are looking around like, what do you want me to do, coach? It just doesn't work. He has to learn to adapt, and we haven't seen it very much.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I still don't believe why he still need what more does he need to learn? You know, he shouldn't have to be. We should be learning anymore. You know, at some point, you can't keep doing the same thing. I mean, that's what he's doing, at least for me, anyways.
Again, the tactics. This is the thing. I think we said this after the Newcastle one, and it was like, man, like we have to give credit to the other teams at times because if they adjust to what you're doing and you don't adjust even further, I feel like, have we gone back to the method of slinging crosses in? You remember we went away from that, like first Arteta, it was like, this is the way we're going to score. We're just going to sling the ball in, you know, with Tierney dropping in crosses. And then you don't have someone that can feed. There's someone there, but you don't have a guy that's, you know, feeding the ball to your striker or feeding the ball to your wingers, you know, from the middle of the pitch. Now you have to go back to slinging crosses in. I just wonder if we're going to go back at this and, you know, let's say this season finishes second again. And, you know, what if Saka playing in the midfield and forcing Jesus and Sterling to play the wings. What if? You know, like, and maybe they've thought about it, maybe they haven't. You know, but that could be a what if moment. You know, because I think we had an answer there for when we were playing the 4-4-2, and we were absorbing pressure and hitting people on the counter. But then we got to these teams that were going to do the low block. And the biggest issue we had then is trying to break these teams down. They're running 5 across the back. And if you don't have a guy that can unhinge it, you know, and get you that quick pass or make the person move into open space, I mean, Moreno, Rice, and Partey aren't built to do that, right? Like, well, I'm not trying to – they're really good players, excellent players. People would kill to have them on their team. But you're not going to Moreno and Rice looking to unlock a defense. That's my counterpoint on that.
I like to know what Arteta's plan was for those 3 in the midfield. Like, what was the intent? Like, what were they supposed to do? And how, and like how, like, it's, once again, I've said this before, and it's jokingly, but it's still true. It seems true. Arteta's trying to win games 0-0. You know?
Do we have 2
Zero.
managers, Gary? We got Arteta and Arteta.
I don't care what his name is. All right.
You're probably the heaviest accent I've seen you do on the Arteta.
Whatever. You're trying to make fun of my pronunciation. Sorry.
No, I'm saying you did a good job. You just like super put the emphasis on the Tedder part of it.
Yeah. No, I like I said, this is for me, and this is me not necessarily playing a revisionist history, but going back to the whole point of you bring Arteta in, right? He is still learning. He will be learning for a while. We need somebody who get, like, they've given him all the tools, but he's not learning fast enough. Right? Like, what part of, like I said, once again, like, you've done this. You've come close to winning Premier League 2 years in a row. You go in that 3rd year, you might, you know what? You're lucky. You get that 3rd year. Sometimes you don't. And people go, why doesn't he get that 3rd chance? Well, because he screwed up the last 2. You know, that's what some people are going to say. At some point, and like this season has shown, like, look, these are all the extra things that will happen as well, right? So things we didn't have to deal with before. Significant. We've had 3 players get red cards? Is that right? 3 players get red cards, right? We've had injuries galore. Over the last 2 seasons where we finished 2nd, you combine all of that and we probably don't, you know, you add up the reds and it probably comes out to less. All right. So those are the challenges that coaches go through when they're building up their resume of experience and whatnot. He's doing it now. And if he had 5 extra years of experience, he would know how to deal with this and be able to get the message across to his team, you know, as far as where we are. And that's some of the things that we're dealing with now. Right.
But why do these things have to be projects? Because you see Aston Villa, you see what Emery's done 2 seasons in now. You go to Chelsea, completely new manager, and they're to be competing for 3rd or 4th place.
Villa was very fortunate, though, Tony, if I can interrupt you real quick, because let's go back to COVID. They were going to drop on that day, and they were very fortunate to stay up. So, yes, Emery has built them up, but there was some luck there. There was a semi-project, you know, selling Jack to City for 100.
We helped that. We helped that sale. Why? Because if we beat them, they possibly go get relegated. Because it was late in the season. I remember the joke was, if we beat them, then we probably can go get him for cheaper now because he's going to.
That was
I
remember who was on the drop day that day, but
yeah, and I think either they scored late or whatever it was to get a draw, whatever they needed, and you know what, we should have beat them. Like, you know, so we kind of helped that deal along by not, you know, by what we did, right?
So I guess my point being is that this was going to be a project, whoever is going to take over after Wenger.
But
It doesn't necessarily have to be. We just seen it with Liverpool. You don't have to. It doesn't always have to be a project.
But
Like
that Liverpool team,
no,
that
when you're
Klopp
talking about a
left,
full project where everybody is new to this thing. I'm talking about a manager who's been managing for a significant number of years, coming in, not somebody who's never done it before. So now your entire system is all everybody new in all new positions,
but
and
that Liverpool team,
you're not willing to go out there for me and go out there and make it easy on him, right? If he needs this to make it work, you go get that, right? If that player will make it work for him, then you go get that player, right?
yeah.
Like you don't take flyers essentially on on uh Tavage, Moreno, who what is it? Who is it? Who is that midfielder? Oh my gosh, my name just.
But the difference
But
though
we've taken so many chances on players where we needed answers. We don't need more questions.
my thing also is, and here's the difference. Like Liverpool, when Klopp took them over, or when Klopp dropped it off, was still a serviceable project. Vice, when Emery was replaced, like go look at that team and go look at Liverpool's team. Like it's two different things. I know what we're doing here is not a futile exercise, but there is accuracy to what you're saying there about why give it to a novice, and I agree with you 100%. I just think regardless of we go to December of 2019, or I think it was 2019 if I'm not mistaken, maybe a January timeframe, the Ancelotti / Arteta argument. I think Ancelotti's still easy for Real Madrid regardless. And I just think Arsenal's unattractive at that time too. You got to think about it. You didn't have Champions League football. You're kind of faltering. So you had to pay people high wages to come play for you.
But if you want to be totally revisionist, you have Arteta that turned down the job because he wasn't going to have enough say on transfers and stuff. So then you hire Emery. So then you would even have a less experienced.
You know what? That doesn't even
Arteta
make
out
any
there.
sense because why would you not bring in somebody who's actually won the Europa League once or twice at that point over a manager who's not done it and say like like that? What you just said makes no sense to me because now you're saying you have no experience ever managing a team. So,
but that's what happened.
But
he refused the job.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that whole scenario makes no sense because how does Arteta know what he needs? He doesn't know how to coach a team yet, manage a team. He can probably coach a team, but he can't manage a team. You know, we're gonna say hi to a couple people before we continue on here. But Stephen is joined us.
He probably didn't have all
Whoa!
this.
Wait up! Hey, Stephen,
Okay.
welcome to the show. I like to say hello to people when they come in. So go ahead, Tony. Sorry. Yeah.
Trying to remember what I was going to say now.
Maybe I'll jog your memory, Tony, with this. It was a transitional period after Emery, after Wenger. So whoever was going to take over the team was going to struggle. And you got to think it from Arteta's perspective, right? Why would I want to take after a great legend? Like your team.
What I was going to say is he probably didn't have all his coaching badges at that point when we first went out there for him.
Yeah. But see this right there. Emery hasn't finished second with Villa, but Emery didn't, as you say. Arteta got what he asked for. Emery didn't get what he wanted. So for me, apples and oranges in the way that they managed both managers. One was given free reign to do as he pleased a little bit more than the other.
Yeah.
But the other one came with trophies. Trophies. I think. Right. So what do we? Everybody says what do they need to be able to? Do they have a winning winning temperament? Have they shown that they can cross the line? And he has shown that. Emery's shown that everywhere he's gone. He's shown it, except for where with Arsenal. And is that an Emery thing or is that an Arsenal thing? You know what I mean?
And he still got us to a final of Europa.
Yeah.
With no support, and I still. Mm-hmm. To me, this is something I'll connect these things. But I remember Stan saying We chose
Mhm.
Arteta because he was a cheap option, and he's still only at like 7-8 million a year, which is
I
cheap.
thought he's 15 now, so all of that.
Is he that much?
I thought somebody. I've heard that number. I believe now it's 15 with the new contract. So I think it's not cheap anymore. I believe. So I might be wrong, but I could have swore I've heard that number come up as what his salary is now. Like I said, could be very wrong.
Still less than half of Simone's contract.
Yeah, but
the 32 million.
I don't know. Yeah.
But
He's reportedly receiving between 9 and 15 mil, so he has got a raise to some degree. I mean, just like some of the salaries of some of them, like Pep's at 10. If Arteta's at 15, then that's like I don't think he's there yet. He's barely half of what Pep is. So
So do you think City knows they're not going to get any charges since Pep's extended a year?
I think that's just security blanket.
Yeah.
I don't think that means much. I mean, I have no doubt if the charges come, he'll just walk, and if it doesn't, or if it takes longer for it to happen, he'll just stay around until
But what I was getting to, I almost think because you had when we came in fifth, the team never said what our target was, and we had fourth sewed up twice, 76% chance to finish fourth twice, blew it twice, and the team finally says after the season ended, top 6 was the target. When you're in fourth place and you had the chance to get Bruno, but you said no, we could have signed him, but
that's on the team. And you know what? Emery didn't get what he wanted at Arsenal. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, how do you do that? Because he didn't get any support at all. I mean,
you know what? He got. See, that's the thing. He didn't get what he wanted, but he still was able to get something out of this team and get them to a final.
And a lot of that was you had Martinelli scoring 10 goals in Europa at 17 years old. I think that's part of why he went for the young players, because he knew the older players weren't bought into the systems. So he went with the young guys that he knew that would play hard. But to me, the whole thing was, I think Arsenal was just waiting for this new format. And it's like, okay, let's start building up the pieces because we want to get this huge new flow of cash. And you finally started signing £100 million players. And like I said a couple of months ago, it seems like the last time Spencer was on here with us, that we need to turn around and we need an $80 million player on the bench because somebody else took his job over. You need that competition, and you need players that are, one's like $100 million player, and another one's like 75 million. You need that worth up there instead of just a handful. You gotta have actual choices. I mean, Arteta can fill out the starting lineup blindfolded because he knows who he's going to start. The only thing that changes is who's available or not. But
I mean, this is the first year, Tony, where it feels like it's deep, right? I mean, this is one of the first years where you could roll with 3 or 4 different fullbacks, a couple different midfielders, a couple different strikers, 3 or 4, whatever. Pick a position. You know, I kind of feel like BX. Like, to me, Emery was the right manager at the wrong time. Like, following legends is never easy. We watch all 3 of us in this panel watch multiple sports, right? I mean, we can pull up NBA examples, NFL examples, MLB examples, pick up sport. Following a legend never really works out well. It worked out well for Barry Switzer, Gary. No, it worked out well for him.
No, that's not even a good example. Stop that.
But it didn't last long.
It's a terrible.
You love you some Barry Switzer.
No. That's what some people will tell you happened to Arteta, right? He won the FA Cup because what? Because he followed up. Barry followed up Jimmy Johnson, but who did Jimmy Johnson follow up? Do you remember who he followed up? So if you're gonna say, guess what? It's hard to follow up a legend. It's hard to follow up a legend and then become a legend yourself. Well, Jimmy Johnson is the case in point. That's why you go out there and you get the best of the best of wherever you're going. If you're going in college, you get the best of college. If you're
always
going into pros, you go the best. But what I'm saying is that's why that worked, is because you didn't settle, right? You didn't settle and say, I'll take a risk, because Arteta is a risk. He's not a known commodity in coaching spaces at all.
Well, there's a lot of factors that worked in on that Cowboys Super Bowl that helped out with that, and the big trade for Herschel Walker was a massive.
That's the main one, because
that's part of it, but that's not all of it. Because you give that to Barry Switzer, it's not going to work, and you're going to tell me it would? No, you give that to Chan Gailey, it's not going to work. You give that to any of the managers, any of the head coaches that Dallas has had since, it's not going to work. So no, I don't believe you. If you try to back that up and say, no, it would work with anybody, I'm going to tell you, you're lying to yourself. I believe you're lying to yourself if you think any manager under that situation would make it work with the way that team worked.
It doesn't look like his last name is Switcher, by the way he signs it.
Yeah. No, like I said, I feel like you sometimes you go out there and you get a really good coach, a really good manager, and it works out better for you. All right. If you don't back up that manager, like you take it to Ancelotti, but then you don't back him up, it's gonna, you're giving a man, you're saying go fish, but you're not giving him a pole. That's kind of how I see that thing working. He needed certain things to make it work. It wasn't going to work if you don't help him out, and that's what happened there. You go to Real Madrid, you give him everything he needs. Right? He doesn't have to ask for much.
And Barry, you had Jimmy and Barry coaching together in Arkansas. He also had Barry going to school with Jerry, which I don't know what Jerry said.
Who was one of the best college coaches at that time besides Jimmy Johnson?
Barry.
No. No. What Miami was doing and what Oklahoma was doing, I get it, but nah. One translates better into the pros, because if you look at the quality of players that came out of that program from University of Florida, University of Miami, and you look at Oklahoma, not the same level in my eyes. Not the same level. Maybe they had the linemen, but not everything else. I mean, you look at all the players, that whole defensive squad, like 11 of them or 9 of them, were starting in the NFL, winning, Hall of Fame jackets and Super Bowls and whatnot, right?
You just asked who the best college coach was. You didn't say whether their players made it in the pros.
No, I'm telling you what you get out of that, and how it translated. Didn't it translate better? Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer. Yeah,
I'd say Jimmy translated better.
Yeah,
I mean Barry.
But Barry
too.
Barry did the wishbone for so long.
Yeah. I was about to say that.
I mean, you take Barry now and you put him in college football, they're probably would outdo what Alabama did with those 6 championships. You would probably get more, because OU always had the offensive and defensive line. They always had the running back. So, and this type of college football, I think
Yeah.
Barry
Well,
would excel so much.
yeah. I mean, I
And that's just kind of like the same thing if you put Dan Marino in today's football.
Yeah.
He would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like, and once again, like this whole concept of a project, I don't think we like projects. Why? Because it means you're gonna have to you're gonna step back to move forward. You're gonna take a step forward and move back two every time until you get you as you see, clean out the the players that aren't gonna work. Anytime you miss on a player, it hurts even more.
Yeah.
All of those things go into it. Whereas if I told you that I could bring in a manager that will take a player who rated as a 5 and give you 7 out of them no matter what, you're going to say, I'll take that all day. All right. So I know if I give him a 7, he'll make that play look like a 9. Those are types of things that you want. He's not going to do it if he's never done it before. And that's kind of my thought process here. Can I get a manager that can come in and overachieve with what I got? Right. Because we all said that we had an opportunity to win the last 2 seasons, and maybe a different manager would have done different things. If Arteta would have done different things, maybe things will work out for us in different games, right? And that's some of that is experience that he doesn't bring to the table yet, and he's
And it
learning
just
fast enough.
and it's just the point here or there. It's showing up against that Aston Villa, and there's plenty of stuff. But what's wrong with the win now mentality? And that should be more in world football than anything, because you have injuries, you have all these, you have a lot more chaos going on, and it's not certain that these players will be good for very long. And to me, you just go out and you try to win.
No, I mean that you bring Ozil in, he's one of the best creators in the world at that point, and you have your striker go basically foot dead. Striker can't hit a barn door, right? No changes being made in the middle of the season when you have an opportunity to do that, and so I mean that's not all of that is some of that's on the manager in that case, yeah. So I kind of feel like it's not. It is sometimes on the manager, and so Wenger screwed up, and Arteta is bound to screw up. Still learning the ropes, right?
But
So
I don't think Wenger's screwed up that much. He probably screwed up by trusting Sanchez, because you have Sanchez to throw a tantrum because he got subbed off at the 78th minute. Goes, takes a shower, and out in his car and gone before any of his teammates
yeah,
get in the locker room for him. He just, and the only year both of them were good, Ozil had all the assists, Sanchez had all the goals. Then after that, they didn't do anything. After that, Sanchez left, and neither of them ever did anything after that. I mean, I think for Man United, Sanchez might have had three goals the following season after we let him go. The mistake there to me is both of them should have been let go, because you end up paying somebody $350,000 a week or pounds a week that's just sitting under the fucking umbrella.
Right.
that's that's on Arsenal, right? The same
In
people
that horrific yellow and blue, whatever that training shirt was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was horrible.
God, that thing was hideous.
Well, then this is on Arsenal, who we're saying they how they manage their team, right? That they were okay to do that kind of stuff, I didn't like the contracts that they gave, especially with Aubameyang, the way that was handled more than the fact that they gave it to him. But it made no sense to re-sign him and do what they did in terms of how they utilized him. We are sitting around. It's like 85 minutes. It's gone really fast.
I'll out myself. I was happy when they were signed out Aubameyang.
I was happy if they were, not. I didn't like the process afterwards. Like they just kind of changed up their entire scheme after that, and then you're asking him to do things he hadn't done before, not putting him in the same situations. Like you pour that money into a player, and then you don't back it up with how you're going to utilize him or the players around him to get the best out of it. Like you don't spend that much money on a player and then go, you know what? I need you to do all these extra things that you never had to do, and you kind of like, if you know the player, you know that's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
But there was so much data because it showed. I think we were like half a point better, or maybe like 0.8 points better when he was on the left instead of in the middle. He was horrible as a striker. Klopp played him as a left winger. I mean that's to me was his position, and for some reason you seen that it was working. Then all of a sudden you start playing him down the middle. He gets in a fight with somebody in the coaching staff. I still think it was probably Arteta, since nobody's ever said a word on it. If there was some assistant, I think it would have, somebody in the media would have said. But then you have, because Arsenal was terrible. Here you are in November. Then Smith Rowe, one of your first happy accidents, starts hitting goals left and right, like 10 goals in like hardly any amount of games. He just, and most of them came off the bench, which is even better. But to me, I think you gotta go for win now, because I've always believed winning breeds winning. When you keep on winning, you've seen it with the Chiefs, you've seen it with Alabama, you've seen it with the Patriots. It's kind of harder to do that in some other sports, but you've had it with City winning like 7 out of the last 10 Premier Leagues. It's just.
I said this when Arteta started this whole thing. For me, you cannot play. First, you need to find your first starting 11. Then you need to build up a squad along with that. You're not going to win. You're not going to win anything with just 11 players. All right, it's not necessarily been done because players don't last. Players have bad days. All of that. We didn't do it. It took a while for us to get our 11. You start with the 11 and you move on from there. You fill in all the spots with the best 11 that you can. We didn't do that. It took we bring players in that would good support as backups and stuff like that, but no like people that are pushing people to the bench. We've just been doing that now. We need to do that way back when. So for me, we've done things a little bit backwards. You start with a strong base and you go from there. And now we're trying. Now, anytime that somebody comes in, they should be able to start for us now, right? We've seen that already. Most of the players that have come in over the last couple of years, they can start from us. We don't have to start for us from day one. All right, day one, Rice is starting for us. Why? Because that's what the quality of play that you brought in. All right, Havertz, day one, you bring him in, start for us. All right. Just find what the world is going on there. That just dude, mute yourself. I should mute you. But like I said, I just muted him because I don't know what that was. That I mean, it's probably
We
just
don't want to
really-
know.
Yeah, we didn't want to.
It can be anything. Probably PG, but you never know.
Yeah, it's,
We're all human and make mistakes. So can I say this though, Gary? And I'm going to throw an NFL example on this. I'll give you one prime example right now. I'm 100% confident the Broncos have found their franchise quarterback in Bo Nix. I can't guarantee he's going to win a Super Bowl, but I guarantee we at least got a shot. And when this season was 100% on finding a franchise quarterback, we found that. Now we're at 6-5. Potentially the playoffs are there. Why not go for it? So every season you should be trying to win, whether it's the Carabao Cup, the league, pick it, try to win. So my viewpoint of this team from 2018 to now is that it has improved.
It's improved,
yet to be seen.
but you have to, and at least tell me this: in football, you have to be able to compete on four fronts.
I agree with that, but I guess what I was about to say is it's still up for discussion whether he's going to get us across the finish line, and I think that's a fair thing to say at this point. But it's also fair to hold on a second. Tell you, it's also fair to look at it and say, hey, where we've come to where we are, there's a drastic improvement. But it's kind of like Jesus and Zinchenko, right? They took you from 5th place to 2nd place, but they're not going to take you from 2nd to 1st, right? You use people along the life for your journey to get where you need to be. And this is where those tough discussions are going to have to be made. Like, hey, well, Jesus, we had him this year. Can we move him on? It's a massive wage. Will someone take it? You know what I mean? Like, those are questions that are going to have to be made. And then depending on how this year finishes, depends on where the ownership says, hey, Arteta, you're the guy to take us, or B, you're not. And whether that turns into being the locker room turns on him or, the fans, whatever, like that story's still waiting to be written. But you have to compete on 4 fronts, Gary. 100% agree.
I don't think we're not giving much rope. I think he's going to have a short leash. And if it looks like we're not going to finish in the top 4, or it looks like we're going to finish 4th, I think, I don't know. I just don't see Arteta being the manager if we finish 3rd and we don't win any cups this year. And speaking of cups, I was washing out my K-cup so I could have more coffee. So it was totally PG.
I mean, we figured it was. We just have to do the what if. You just never know.
Are you trying to say I'm a wild card?
No, I just think life is just full of surprises, Tony, and it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. All right, I'll shut up.
Yeah.
I always hate those like big deals of chocolates because there are usually only like 2 of them that are good. I mean, one's like a chocolate with some fruit that doesn't go at all with the chocolate. So I always went. They used to be able to get them for about $4 a bag. Is the Lindor truffles? Those things just melt in your mouth.
I hear that. Well, before we get out of here, let's just this was something good that came up, and this is all pretty much in the last day or so. Arsenal is thinking about expanding by about, I guess, 25%, or not 25%, almost 50%. So they're going to go up to about 80,000. Spend about another 500 mil to get that done. First thing I'm going to say is, how about we try to win something first, and then spend a lot of money? Because I have no doubt this is going to take away time from anything and monies from all these other things that we need to do. How about we try to win? How about we take 100 mil of that and throw it at Sporting, throw it at I don't know, at where's Osman come from? Throw it at Isaac. think how if I said here's I think it's crazy. You don't have to do this, but say 250, get me Isaac, and let him come in and play for us. All right. Let's see how that works. All right.
The long-term
but
investment now.
Yeah,
but-
you're holding on to him.
I'm talking about upgrading the stadium. We'll go ahead.
What do you think of a striker that Arsenal's going to meet with his entourage at Juventus? Did Vlahovic? I don't see spending that much money on him when you got better players that are younger.
Wait, spending on who?
Vlahovic.
Oh, and I've never even brought that name up, so it's never been in my thoughts. There's only 3 players we need to get if we want to try to win something right now. 2 are called Victor, one's called Isaac. Yeah.
So 2 things here. So this is going to be a little deep, but so I just did the Broncos Stadium tour in Denver. The Penner Group, Rob Walton, they're in that family with Stan Kroenke and all that stuff. Sorry. So they're in that family. When they're long story short, they talk about expanding the Broncos Stadium. They're talking about moving it by the airport. My point being is that Stan Kroenke has that $5 billion stadium sitting out there in LA. He can get whatever event he wants, World Cup games, you pick it, all sorts of stuff. So what do you do with Arsenal at this point? Where else can you put a stadium? You can't move it anywhere. So what do they do? They throw $500 million in there. The club, they're just looking at like this, but my point being is like for them, $500 million to upgrade a stadium, it's going to pay them back more. Sorry, I must say this, than dropping $250 million on Isaac and Osimhen.
Yeah. No.
I don't agree with what I'm saying.
No. You're right about that, but he doesn't care about the team. That's the thing,
I think he does.
Not as much as you think, because, like you said, the Rams. He don't care if they win another. They even challenge for another Super Bowl, right? But guess what? Like you said, they just built that arena in L.A.
The Kroenkes are really good people.
They're about real estate. They're not about
that's what he is.
about sports. So, no, but that's what he's going to do. He's going to try to make the most money he can from the real estate that he has, not from the teams that play in it.
I still want to know how a $2 billion stadium / complex ends up being $6 billion because of a flood. Where did the extra
I don't even
$4
know.
billion come in that?
Yeah,
that's just insane.
Brownie brings up a good point too that I 100% agree upon.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they're doing it for. It sounds like a good thought, but I have no doubt they're not thinking that way at all.
What's the season? We know people.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't. They are not thinking. Oh, you know what? If we put $500 million in there, now we're going to be making so much extra cash. We can get more players. That is not.
Business people think like that, though.
That's not at the top of their list of things. The top 10, it's not even on that list.
It's on the list.
If you said there's a top 10 list, it wouldn't even be on there.
Well, they're not. Look, they're not spending $500 million just to buy more players. Let's not get our twist. There's multiple facets.
But like I don't think that's even like that would be like the last thing they would think about. Oh yes,
we
want to be able to get more players.
Go ahead, Tony.
Can I reveal what number 1 is? It's taken some NFL games away from the toilet bowl.
Potentially. Yeah. You're not potentially.
Because that's a lot of money there.
But here's the other thing I'm going to say with this too, though, Gary. Damn it, Tony, that was good. You got me there on that one.
Shit. You know what? He hits. You leave it out. You leave the ball out there. He's going to hit it once in a while.
Oh, here we go. Think of our group chats, Gary. How many times do the people in the group chat say, "Oh, I didn't win a ballot"?
Yeah. Oh, you said Mr. Tom makes it before we get out of here. Go ahead.
But think of how many times people in the group chat say, I didn't win a ballot again. They didn't get a ticket to a game. Red level members, right?
Yeah.
So if I increase the stadium by 25%, so think about this. If you're a red level member, like we'll just throw Ryan, for example, or whoever, throwing him out there, and he wins 2 ballots a year, what's the point of being if you're only going to win 2? If I increase this by 25%, it makes him more likely to renew that every year. And he probably will renew it regardless because he loves Arsenal. You know what I'm saying? But I'm using it as an example. If you can never get a ticket to a game, why continue to spend money if you're not going to get a ticket to a game? So that plays into it too. So if you think we could, this team could get 80,000 people to show up for a game for sure. So it's a twofold thing. The team wants to make more money. The Cronkies want to make more money. And then on top of that, Tony was 100% right. They might even try to get an NFL game or 2 there. You never know.
Yeah, but like I said, all those things are why the whole FFP thing isn't necessarily like part of I think part of the plan. Its ultimate goal is to make more money from what you got, and that's right now the real estate. The real estate is the stadium, right? And that's everything's. If you followed Stan Kroenke, all of the things that he's done, it's all been about the stadium and making more money for himself, and he's willing to pack his team up and move them if he can.
Well, that was always going to happen with St. Louis when he bought in, because when they did the lease with the Edward Jones Dome, that was the lease was like, we'll keep the team here if you keep us within the top 5 stadiums in the league. It was never going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean it looked like a basketball arena. It's not very big. It's just this kind of discrete brick building.
We talking about the ball arena?
It's about a mile away from the arch, and
yeah, oh yeah,
it wasn't an NFL arena. It was like it's like a college arena because I can go 40 miles to the south, go to Stillwater. Their stadium looked better than what the Rams did in St. Louis.
All right. I know we've been chatting. We could probably go on, but we're gonna have to go, people.
This has been fun tonight.
Yep. Spencer, what last words do you have for the people?
No, again, like I said, appreciate all the nice comments and concern about Landy, and it's good to see you, Tony. It's good to see you, Gary. Everybody in the chat room, Rosie, BX, Colonel, everybody that was anybody I missed. I'm sorry. Games start up again. Enjoy the break while you can. If you want to watch some international games, if not, go watch reruns of Gavin and Stacy and enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know. Take care, everybody.
All right. Yeah, cool. Tony?
I'd argue with Spencer for 1 second. They might sell 80,000 tickets, but they're not going to be 80,000 people in there because it holds 60,000, whatever. Like 60,130, whatever it is. But there's generally like 45,000 people in there because people have made money selling their tickets.
And you have no shows too. I mean, the Broncos, when the game I went to, there were 6,000 no shows. I don't know how many they had Sunday, but they'll sell every ticket and they'll have tons of no shows. It just happens.
It's just funny when they announce the attendance and you see these just gaping holes in places.
You told me the game sold out. I see section 514 is missing like the back 2 rows.
Well, I know sometimes people can't get tickets and all that kind of stuff, even with the exchange and stuff. So there's something weird that's going on there for sure. Anything else, Tony, before we head out of here?
Yeah, I've been probably for the last 6 months because one of my dogs turned 10 and a couple of weeks ago other one turned 9, and I have like 5 dogs buried out in the yard, and I'm like, do I really want to go get another one for 15, 16 years? It's kind of tough losing a pet.
Oh, yeah. Our dog is getting there. He's like 16, and anytime he falls, slips, you're like, uh-oh. And he's been so far. I've been coming back. I have a feeling it's just gonna it definitely will surprise you, right? So we shall see. Well, I'll have my say, then we'll get out of here. Will the Cowboys win tonight? What? Have you not been watching them? I don't know if
Here,
they're going to
hold
win
on.
another. I don't know if they're going to win another game for the rest of the
Thanksgiving
season.
night. Hold on, Gary. Thanksgiving night, the 4:25 game Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be the mighty Dallas Cowboys versus the mighty New York Giants. The quarterback matchup is going to be excellent. It's going to be the Tommy DeVito show. Yeah, and versus Cooper Rush. Don't miss it.
Yeah.
But if you do, you won't miss anything.
You know what? I just remember. I remember watching one of those days, and it was Garrett. Was it Garrett?
Yeah.
Was it?
Garrett.
I was in college, and I went out to eat, and yeah, Garrett, and we actually won. So yeah, you know what? We might beat the Giants, but the Giants have actually improved because they've gotten rid of Jones. So there you go. So,
I'll say this much: if you're going to have two quarterbacks of that playing, the game might actually be good because they're equal levels.
that's true. That's true.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll screw it up somehow. Everybody, thanks for joining. Lots of links in there. Rosie put links in there a couple times. I think a couple of your channels. Big Gunner is in there. His channel. We all love leads. Check them all out. They're all friends of the channel. Check it out. Tony's channel is in there, I think. So check that out.
Yep, and I'll be doing it at 4 p.m. Central, 10 London time, 5 year guys time every Thursday, plus the odd watch alongs, and I'll probably do some watch alongs of because in Europe, England, Raw, SmackDown, and NXTs will be available on Netflix. Here in the States, you just get Raw and the pay-per-view. So one thing I said on there, I'll make it quick, is like I don't know how much time people will put in it, because you had Netflix guy, like when the Apple TV was first starting, and right after the Nintendo Switch came out, the Netflix guys said that Apple wasn't his competitor, that it was Switch, because you're just competing for time. So I'm just interested on how much time European wrestling fans will take to watch the shows.
I hear you. But once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll do this again. Hopefully, we are talking about 3 points. I don't want one. I need 3. Arteta, we need 3. Don't matter how you do it. Get us across the line. Get us to 3. Players, get us to 3. Fans, it's a home game, I think. Fans, get us to 3. We need to also win because we're still too close to the other play. I mean, what is it, like 8 teams are behind us within 1 point, 10 teams within 2 points or something like crazy like that. So yeah. So yeah, now we need to push, get closer to the top than the bottom, than the middle of the table. So thank you, everybody, once again for joining us. We'll be back. We'll do this again, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe, and all of that. And I'd like to say this as we head out.